with a group of a bunch of group of other boys and girls about the same age as you are, clenching onto a bowl and a spoon, waiting for someone to hand you some food. You waited, and finally someone did began putting some food into your bowl, into the group, and you start eating. When the food get there, you must eat as fast as you could, because if you don't eat as fast as you could, someone else will, and the food will run out really, really quickly, and you would go to bed hungry. So I ate as fast as I could. As the food was running out, I was still so hungry. I decided to dump the rest of the food into my bowl. One of the kids in the group got angry, jumped up, latched onto me, and bit me. I remember blood gushing all over the place. I remember crying my eyes out, waiting for someone to help me. I'm crying, I'm waiting there, blood spilled all over me. I'm like, please somebody help me, as a little child, I was 5 years old. And no one came to my rescue. My parents were not around, because they were working for the slave labor camp, the Communist Party, and I didn't get to see them. That's how my life began. In 1972, on December 2nd, 1972, I was born into the slave labor camp during the killing fields of Cambodia. The first 6 years of my life, over 2 million of my people were slaughtered. Over 2 million people. I lived in a little shack with grass roof, with 4 stilts above ground, no running water, no toothpaste, no electricity, no toilets. A log, if I was lucky, was my pillow. A rag, if I was lucky, was my blanket. I went to bed hungry every night. I ate every bugs and animal in order to survive. Crickets, grasshoppers, iguanas, snakes, horses, whatever I could get my hands on, I would do it. I would eat. I came to close to death so many times. At the age of 6 years old, the Vietnamese people came into our country and liberated Cambodia. And this was the perfect opportunity for our family to escape. At the age of 6, my family and I took off among thousands of other refugees towards Thailand. Bombs were going off. Dead bodies were all over the place. People stepping on landmines, getting themselves blown up. And as a little child, remember, I was 6 years old. All I could think about was, oh my God, I'm going to step on a landmine and I'm going to blow myself up to pieces. We continued to walk for days and miles. We finally reached close to the border of Thailand, and we ended up staying on top of this mountaintop for several days. While there, people went to the bathroom everywhere you could imagine. We all had worms. We all had, we had all kinds of, I guess, whatever you want to call it. We had it because there's no food, there's nothing, there's no sanitation, nothing like that at all. We lived like that for the next 10 days until we finally crossed the border to Thailand. And I got to tell you, it was scary as heck, because we knew, now this is at the age of 6 years old, 6.5 years old. We knew that if we get caught crossing the border into Thailand, we would have been shot right on the spot. We made it, and we registered ourselves into the United Nations refugee camp for the first time. My dad changed my birthday by 4 years. I was born in 72. He changed my birthday to 11/11/76, and I'll tell you the story how it came around in a minute. So we got in. I'll never forget. We went in these dilapidated buildings that they've had. That's where we stayed. And they had so many problems with rodents. And the United Nations staff said, in order to get rid of this, we'll be willing to pay you. So they said, for every 5 rats or mice that you catch, we'll give you $1. I will never forget, I found a stick, And I was wearing my flip-flops, and I was going through these dilapidated buildings looking for these things to scurry around. And I found my 5. I hit them. One by one, until I killed 5 of them. I held them by the tails. Imagine this. Holding 5 rats by this tail, waiting this long line to turn them in. And I finally got my first American dollar. How ironic is that? It used to be food. Now I'm trading it for money. So for the next 4 years, we lived like that. People were getting robbed in the middle of the night, and families were getting shot if they come and rob you. Because remember, when there's nothing, you see the worst side of human beings coming out. They would shoot and kill you, or they would throw hand grenades at you and blow up your family to do what is necessary in order for them to survive. That's how we lived for the next 4 years. Now, fast forward, 4 years later, I was almost 10 years old. We finally got permission to go to the Philippines. We found our sponsor in Tempe, Arizona, through my grandfather's friend, through a World Relief Program, which is a church program. In fact, they just found me about 9 years ago to pay off my airplane ticket. $489. Okay? But we were finally given permission to go to the Philippines, and when we arrived in the Philippines, here's another refugee camp. But this one was in the middle of a tropical forest. We live in a 4 feet above bunker above ground, and we were giving a little bit of ration every week. Well, in order to make it work, my father and I, and at the age of 9 years old, I learned how to hunt. We made our own goggles with a wooden gun. We use a wooden gun with a rubber band and an umbrella spoke. We went to the stream every day in a tropical forest. Spent 4 to 5 to 6 hours each day, and we would shoot shrimp, fish, and eel. And sometime I would carry a bag of rice, and I would climb the mountains at the age of 9.5 years old, almost 10, and trade the rice for potato with the Filipinos up in the mountains. At 9.5 years old. Looking back now, it's like some of the best childhood I could ever imagine. We lived there for the next 9 months like that. Amazing. It was such an extraordinary reflection going back now. But I lived like that for the next 9 months. In 1983, we were finally given permission to come to the United States of America on July 8th, to be exact. I will never forget that day that we took off to Manila before we got on a plane, because most of the refugees have never been on the bus before, including myself. July 7th, 1983. Think about that. Tropical forest, July. Is it hot? Very hot. And most of us have never been on a bus. And what happened when you've never been on a bus? You get what? Sick. You get sick. So it was a 3-4 hour ride. The road was narrow. The cliffs was deep. And as the bus twists and turns, so did the vomit in the bus. You'll never forget that stench. We arrived in Manila about 3-4 hours later, and they put us in a former prison camp overnight to bathe and shower. I'll never forget, I kept walking around this prison land and going through dungeons and prisons and cells and whatnot, and until it was time for us to go to sleep and then wake up the next day and put on a plane to come to the United States of America. We did. We got to Thailand from the Philippines. We went all the way to Japan. First of all, we stopped in Japan. After we fueled up, we left for a couple hours. We had some engine trouble, my dad said. So they returned us to Japan for the evening. My God, that was the first time that we saw an escalator. That was the first time that I saw people walk into a building in a mirror, because we've never seen ourselves in a mirror before. That was the first time that we went to a buffet line and there was so much abundance of food. We didn't know. We ate so much that you could barely breathe. That was the first time we went to our hotel room and heard the phone rang, and we as kids ran and hid because we didn't know what it was. That was the first time that my aunt turned on the hot water and thought it was cold water because we didn't understand what it was and got herself burnt. That was the first time we saw a black and white TV in our room and we didn't know how to turn it on. That was the first time we slept in a bed. The next night, we left and came to San Francisco, California. We arrived there, I'll never forget, the coldest place in the summer is where? San Francisco. So July 8th, 1983, we arrived there. I was so proud going through the immigration line. They gave us a jacket, a long fake fur with 2 stripes. You guys remember that with the fake fur up here? Oh, damn, I should have kept that. They gave each and every one of us one of those at the Immigration Processing Center. After we got processed, we were now directed to our sponsor, which was in Tempe, Arizona. As you know, the flight's only 2 hours away. We got there, and we got picked up by our sponsor. I remember walking out of a plane and look at through the receiving area. I'm like, oh my Lord, it's amazing. Never seen so many planes in my life. Never seen so many white people in my life. There's hardly any Asian people there in Arizona in 1983. But our first ride to our sponsor's home, we get there that evening. And for the first time, they fed our entire family with 1 full chicken. We all it in 2 or 3 pieces to serve in 2, 3 different times. We had our first toothbrush. We got to brush our teeth with real toothpaste. Never had that before. It's always been rock salt. I mean, the second time, I guess we got to use the toilet because the first time was in Japan. God, got to watch TV for the first time. We stayed with our sponsor for about 7 days. We went to our first picnic. I remember my brother and sisters and I ate so much that we could barely breathe. I remember going to our first grocery shopping. I've never seen so much food in my entire life and kept asking where the heck was all this when I was growing up. And then a week later, we moved into our first apartment complex in Tempe, Arizona. And I went to Do Elementary School. But the first week, we found out there was a Cambodian family just like us, 3 doors down. They had a girl's bicycle, a pink one with 1 pedal. I learned how to ride that bicycle. A week later, I learned how to ride a bigger bicycle. A week later, I began dumpster diving. My sister and I would go at 6 o'clock in the morning with a 50-gallon bag, go into this big apartment complex nearby. In fact, we just went back and took pictures about a year and a half ago where we were. And we would go in and dumpster dive and we would look for cans. Well, I've always been the street smart in my family. I would make my sister jump in a big garbage can, right? And she would pick all the cans and throw them back out and I put them in a bag. And then what we try to do is we look for cans that hasn't been crushed yet. So what we do is we bring them back, and then I make all my brothers and sisters line them all up in the back, in our backyard. It's all red clay. And I make everybody scoop all the little red clay and put that in the can, and then I spray water on it, and then I make everybody crush it. Why do you think I do that?
The weight.
Yep.
The weight. Okay? All right? So that's how you do it. All right? If you want to make more money, that's how you do it. All right? I'm not telling you to do that. Okay? But you have to understand where we came from, right? Survival of the fittest. Everything in my life has always been about survival of the fittest. My mom even said, she said, when we were in the slave labor camp during Phil's Cambodia, by the time they passed out the ration, I've already stolen enough for the whole entire family. I just knew what to do and where to get it all my life.
Wow.
But we did that, and we finally, we did that for a few months, and I finally a month later, got to go to school for the first time. I remember the first day, you know, when you got here in the United States of America, by the way, they gave you this thing called resident alien card. And truly, I looked like an alien.